Hi guys, Sarah here and welcome to Novel Expectations. Today I'm coming to you with my second weekly wrap-up of 2016. I got 2 books read this week, which I'm actually quite impressed with considering the fact that work has been extremely busy and I haven't had a lot of extra reading time. Let's jump right into the books. So the first one I finished was Secrets Can Kill by Carolyn Keene. This is the very first book in the Nancy Drew Case Files series. This is one of the books that I have chosen for my Back to My Childhood books. I do plan on talking more about why I am reading a lot of the books from my childhood in another video later this week, so if you're interested to find out, stay tuned for that video. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. The basic premise of it is that Nancy is hired by a high school and she is to pose as a high school student. Now she is only 18, so it's not much of a stretch. And she ends up back at the high school and she's trying to find out who's breaking into lockers and who's stealing the audio-video equipment and stuff like that. I was so thrilled when I saw these books were coming back out for the Kindle. I was looking at trying to recollect the whole series in physical format, but there were a lot of books in this series, and I'm just so glad that now I can grab them on the Kindle and not have to take up a lot of shelf space with them. These books were so endearing to me, and I had such a thrill rereading this one because I distinctly remember being 12 or 13 years old, going to the library and searching through the stacks of what at the time was known as the YA section, which was mostly Nancy Drew, The Babysitter's Club, Sweet Valley, all that good stuff, and trying to find ones that I hadn't read before. So all these books I've only really read once, if I read them at all. A lot of them I may have missed. And so this was kind of like, it was new to me. I didn't remember the story. And please don't think I'm downgrading when I say this, but these aren't exactly, high intelligence books. They are meant for a YA, a younger YA, and middle grade possibly audience. Again, these were published this book was published in 1986, so that would have made me 7 when it came out. Yeah, 30 years ago. Holy cow, that just dawned on me. I gave this book 3 stars on Goodreads. And please bear in mind that the rating that I give my Back to My Childhood books, I'm rating things a lot differently than I would rate a book that is geared more towards someone my actual age. When I rate these books, I'm not rating them necessarily on character development or plot or how well it's written. These were really fun stories, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with them because these are the books, along with the other Back to My Childhood books that I'm going to talk about later, that really made me want to continue reading and instilled the love of reading in me. So that to me makes them that much more fun. So like I said, I gave this book 3 stars on Goodreads. The plot was cute. I mean, it was, Nancy's in the high school, she has to investigate, and it was such a throwback to the 1980s because, it was audio-video equipment. There used to be, I remember being in high school and having an AV club, and that was like the geeks, like, they were the ones who were filming and whatever. And she talks about popping a tape into a VCR and, the clothing that she's wearing, and she's driving a Mustang. And, to me, when I probably read these books at age 12, Nancy was so cool. Like, who didn't want to be like Nancy Drew? She's smart and she's pretty and she drives a nice car. Like that was what I loved is outside of the Sweet Valley High books, which I also really enjoyed. Nancy's really focused on her intelligence and could she solve this crime? And there were a couple things that I found like really outlandish that I have to talk about because they're just super duper fun. And the first one is someone's actually murdered at the school. So the kids who read these at the time weren't shielded necessarily from murder because these were mystery stories and people got hurt and people got killed. But the fact that this guy who was killed was pushed down a flight of stairs overnight or in the morning or something, school resumed that day. It's like they just blocked it off with police tape and said, carry on your day. When, in reality, if that was the case, God forbid, there would be, kids would be out of school for a week or whatever. I just thought that was kind of funny and a little morbid, actually, that these kids just carried on with their school day, even though one of their classmates had died, like, in front of the gym or something like that. Like I said, overall, it was really fun. If you grew up reading these books, I highly suggest you pick them up for the Kindle and reread them, just for the nostalgia factor. I really enjoyed it. The second book I read this week was Three Rivers Ranch by Roxanne Snopek. This is the first book in the Three Rivers Ranch series, and it was published in 2012, and I gave it 3 stars. This is an adult contemporary romance. It was okay. I bought a later book in the series, I think the 5th book, for free. I can say bought. I got it for free on the Kindle, and I have to read series in order, so when this one came up on my list to read next, it was a Christmas book, so it wasn't time to read it yet because I read Christmas books at Christmas. And B, I have to go back and read the first book. So I picked up the first one. It was only a couple bucks. It was okay. It wasn't great. It's about a woman named Rory. Her actual name is Aurora. And she is very pregnant, about 7 months pregnant, split with her fiance who was cheating on her, and heads off to pretty much start anew. She ends up renting this very dilapidated shack, I mean cottage is too nice of a word to use for it, at Three Rivers Ranch. Well, I think his name is Carson, is the guy's name. He has no idea that this shack has been rented out. His lawyer told him that they were going to try and find him a helper. Well, when no one would come forth to try and help him because he's supposed to be very rude and what have you, they decided just to rent out the shack, and it would go from there. The reason I only gave this book 3 stars is because there was nothing new for me. This used a lot of the typical contemporary romance cliches. Pregnant woman on her own, ranch hand cowboy, marriage of convenience. It wasn't a badly written book. I really enjoyed it, but the fact that it had so many of the cliches is what kind of bothered me the most. I liked the characters. They were both really, really well written. There are, I think, what did I say, that I bought the 5th book, so there's at least 5 books in the series. I do plan on continuing on in the series. It's not that I didn't like it, it's that I thought it could have been a little bit more creative. So what am I currently reading? I am currently listening to, still, Jane and Austen by Stephanie Fowlers. This I did not realize until I really started listening to it. Now, the title of the book should have totally clued me in on the fact it's a Jane Austen retelling, but I had no idea it was a retelling. I thought that the author was just having fun with the characters' names, because it is a romantic kind of comedy, if you will. The reason I'm still not finished it yet is because it is an 11.5-hour long audiobook, and I haven't had a lot of time this week to listen to an audiobook. Luckily next week I have some time that I'm sitting around a hospital for a little bit having tests done. I will have lots of time to listen to audiobooks. So I will be able to get this one finished this week. I only have 4.5 hours left, so that should actually be a pretty quick finish. I am really enjoying this book. It's really cute. It's starting to come out now what characters are mirroring which characters in the Jane Austen novels. The problem is I've never read a Jane Austen novel, so it's being lost on me, if you will. If you're a fan of Jane Austen, maybe check this book out. I'll let you know my full thoughts when I finish it this week. The second book I'm reading is one I just started yesterday, and it's called Taking Heart, and it's by Willette Youkey, Y-O-U-K-E-Y. This is another contemporary romance, and what it's about is a woman who is flying from Chicago to Colorado and ends up on the plane with this gentleman who is quite rude. Well, the reason she's going to Colorado is to clean out her unfortunately dead boyfriend's apartment. I still haven't found out yet how he died or what happened, but this book actually has something to do with heart transplant. So I'm thoroughly excited about reading it. I'm so far really engaged in the first chapter. I wanted to continue reading last night, but it was time for bed. So yeah, I'll let you guys know what I think about this one at the end of next week. And the third book I'm reading is The Time Traveler's Guide to Medieval England, a handbook for visitors to the 14th century by Ian Mortimer. Loving this. Absolutely loving this. I'm only 60 pages in, not very far. It's not really that thick of a book. This will be done by the end of January. You know, my nonfiction goal is to always finish a book a month. This one I love. I mean, this is, the history buff in me is just squealing over this. They're into, the last chapter he just talked about were the people and the different classes of people in the Middle Ages. And I did not realize that the second richest person in the 1400s was Queen Isabel. And she had a gross yearly income of £2,000. Now, you're listening to that saying, well, that's not very much. In the 1400s, that was probably an insane amount of money. It talked about, you know, this is the amount of money in modern money, but think about how much it was probably back then. They talk about the dwellings and the houses, and you know, I'm only that far into it. The next chapter, I just stopped at a chapter, is, oh, the character, like the type of people, like what were their personalities like, I'm assuming. So, like I said, like the first chapter was getting around, like what it was like in the towns and in the villages, and actually there was a list of the population in London in the 1400s. Very exciting. Again, the history geek in me has just been squealing over this. And now then the people, and eventually we'll get into the food and the customs, and oh, the author actually does have another book out very similar to this one, I think for another time period, and I can't remember for the life of me what the title is, but I will put it down here if you guys are interested, because that is one I'm definitely going to be checking out next. Anyway, guys, that's it for this video. What are you guys reading this week, or what did you finish this week? Or have you read any of these books, and what did you think about them? Let's talk in the comments below. And if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye!